welcome to another edition of EBS On Location. I'm Air Force Sergeant J.D. Harrington. Tonight we're going to take an in-depth look at a mode of communications we use on a daily basis, the common telephone. If you're like most people, your understanding of how the telephone works ends at the wall it's plugged into. By the end of the show, we hope to explain just how difficult the task is of keeping you connected to the world via telephone operations. The central office is the heart of the phone system. It's here that every phone on base is connected, and like its name suggests, is the central hub that does the routing between the calling party and those being called. Dialing another extension on base is handled by the switch. Literally thousands of mechanical relays that twist and turn, open and close, and make and break contacts to connect you with your party. Some 1,800 of them are line relays, which equates to the number of telephones that can be used at any one time. Breaking it down even further, 600 of those are dedicated to party lines used in the housing area. Since we have more people assigned on base than the number of line relays available, it might take a while to get a dial tone, or you may get a busy signal after dialing the first number. The switch itself was designed during the 50s and installed in the early 70s, the age of which causes problems in and of itself.
The old switch is a mechanical switch. It requires mechanical parts to operate. The problem with them is they don't make a lot of the parts any longer. And so a lot of times we have a failure rate and it actually kicks out some of the subscribers on base and we actually have to change their equipment out, which limits the number of subscribers we're authorized to have.
The final construction of all the Incirlik housing units put a demand on the switch it wasn't designed to handle. Even with the party line system, it's been working nearly 18% over its rated capacity for several years. The switch is also manpower intensive, primarily due to it being hardwired by design. For instance, an installer has to go to a residence just to change the telephone number. A total of 10 people are assigned to maintain the switch, and besides changing out and repairing relays, they also operate the telephone trouble desk.
Okay, I take the calls from the customer. I log it in, my log here, to keep track of it. And I have job controls number just in case they want to track the number if it takes a couple of days to get it repaired. Once I log it in, I go in the back and I test it. A lot of tests can be done from the test desk. You can plug into the distributor, dial it up, and it can tell you if you have a tempering ground, tempering short. But to be for sure, you can go back in the back and you can take the mod out and you can go directly on that line.
Calling in a telephone problem doesn't mean a repairman is on his way. Due to the nature of the mechanical switch, it could be just a stuck relay, in which case it's fixable by inside plant. There's also a host of things that can go wrong on the outside. For instance, a tree can fall on an overhead telephone cable, or an underground cable can become waterlogged. Even though the telephones we use are designed to take a lot of abuse, they too can break. When things like this happen, outside plant goes to work. They're responsible for maintaining the cable line between the customer and inside plant, and ensuring the telephone works like it's supposed to. Single line units like that found in housing is fairly straightforward. But when you get into facilities that have dozens of telephones and multiple lines, you find they have their own mini switching setup called a key system.
Well, a key system is like a mini switching system inside the building. And they are the heart of the key for the key telephone, providing the hold feature, incoming lamp flash, building intercom. So, say Jim in office 106 can talk to Ruth in 108 without going through the telephone switch here.
As an example, outside plant crews have been working nearly 8 months hooking up the 300 telephones that are needed in the new headquarters building. Since all the phones are tied together into the key system, calling within the building doesn't require inside plant involvement at all. With the maze of wires and terminal blocks to contend with, though, keeping everything organized is essential.
Okay, each side of a terminal block represents a phone, basically. And each phone has, well, basic 564 has 5 lines, and every loop on the terminal block represents a line.
Besides working on new system installations, outside plant also works the problems identified by the trouble call desk. Once on site, finding the building's key system is the next priority, since many people cover them up with furniture. Once found, a few simple tests can determine where the problem lies. Here at TMO, they found a poorly connected module which prevented the telephone from working. One repairman then calls the job in as completed and gets the next trouble call assignment, while the other repairman moves any furniture back in place they had to move for access. The next call took them to the commissary, where they quickly found that a leaky water pipe on the ceiling had dripped into the building's key system, shorting out 2 telephone lines. Another responsibility of outside plant is to repair broken telephones. While it's usually done during the slow days, knowing how to take apart, test, replace, then reassemble the telephone takes some special knowledge. As would be expected, a large part of their 6-month technical school concentrates on telephone theory. Within 30 minutes or so, another telephone will be ready for use.
Chemical, nuclear, and conventional warfare. Combat situations develop fast, so when exercise conditions change, do it fast. In condition red, quickly take cover, don your mask and gear, and stay down.
Use the buddy system if possible to make sure your gear is on right. The enemy is ready.
The threat is real.
It's up to you to be prepared.
No doubt about it. Driving in Turkey is a real challenge. In order to stay safe, you need to be a defensive driver. The many different modes of transportation used in Turkey can sometimes turn a road into an obstacle course. You can't always tell what the other guy's intentions are. So be prepared for the unexpected. Stay safe. Be a defensive driver. The consequences can be costly.
Helicopter 7.
As mentioned earlier, you normally won't talk with anyone other than the party you're calling when dialing another number on base. Try to call off base, though, and you'll find you have to ask for operator assistance. They provide a vital service to the community, that of intermediary between you, the customer, and the outside world. Besides access to off-base Turkish PTT and the long-distance Autobahn lines, they also have direct access to 12 other sites in Turkey, including Ankara and Izmir. What makes their job difficult is having to act as gatekeeper, separating the military-related calls from the unofficial ones.
A lot of the traffic that people would probably be expected to be processed during the day, for them, as far as commercial, they don't understand why we don't process it. But the reasoning is that we have official traffic which comes first. Our main mission is military, and so all military calls will be processed first.
Other services they offer include providing information during normal duty hours and monitoring the morale and bank call programs. As you probably already know, many of the services you've come to expect from a stateside telephone company just aren't available here at Incirlik. But that's getting ready to change. In the coming months, Incirlik's going digital. It comes in the way of a new digital switch. Besides being a lot more efficient, it's also completely software controlled. This means changing numbers at an inside plant computer terminal instead of rewiring the telephone itself. The new switch also has a greater capacity, so much so that every telephone on base can simultaneously be used. Conference calls with up to 40 people only take a few keystrokes on the terminal. Party lines will be a thing of the past, and call waiting will also be available. So when's it all happening? Last September saw the completion of the building to house the new switch. Since then, the equipment's arrived and been put in place. Both contractors and military alike are working on the changeover and expect to be finished sometime in August. Part of the changeover, though, will include changing the 4-digit telephone numbers we presently use to a new 5-digit number. Unfortunately, this will require a little time and patience.
It'll take at the outside plant work center approximately a week probably to get to every single phone on base, change it, and also go out and change the phone numbers and be able to swap out all the phones that they can.
Future plans include putting all the sites in Turkey on the same exchange, thus providing direct dial capability throughout the country. Touchtone service is also down the road, primarily because it entails changing all the telephones on base. As you've seen, it takes a dedicated effort to keep the telephone system going. The 24 members of telephone operations work hard to keep your telephone in working order, and they promise things will only get better. For EBS, I'm Air Force Sergeant J.D. Harrington. Join us again next week when we come to you from the Incirlik Command Post on location.